A genuine reminder for myself, for you, for anyone and everyone on earth. No matter what we do or share in real life or on social media, what work we do or how well we do it, what heights we reach through our hard work or what our intentions are, how long or short our journey has been, when it even started, when it took pace or fizzled out, when shared or conveyed, someone at some corner of the world is always going to disapprove, not like, follow or unfollow, copy, ignore, hate, not support, bring down, not resonate with, be inspired, appreciate, share or not share, etc. It's really just up to us then to actually only listen to the inner voice that had been pretty darn clear the whole time and learn to let go, as impossible as it may seem. I guess we all get caught up in this and that and validation for our work before we listen to it 100%, not giving at all about anyone's response or feedback. To think that this shift took over a decade and is still in process. The overachieving self makes an effort to calm down and let it flow as is, with the occasional turbulence of wanting to hold on to the dreams I earlier aspired to that I'd now be acing if I'd continued to follow that path. I can only hope that I can continue to share from my journey in honesty without offending anyone unknowingly. But then again, some things are in nobody's control, I guess. Speaking your heart out and sharing your personal experience, journey, thoughts and visions comes with a price. Till my last breath, I wouldn't be aware of what is right or wrong in the terms of flow art, hooping, dancing, recycling, cleaning, performing, health, community, humanity, just living even. It's normal to feel left out or not appreciated or celebrated enough at times, or feel awful to be celebrated when there's so many more that deserve to be celebrated in place of you. In a world where when you did tons of work, there was hardly anyone to applaud, but the moment someone else does the same people send that as a reference as though anything you ever did never even counted. It's each to our own journey and finding balance through the ups and downs and comparisons that weren't part of your journey at the start, but something you cannot avoid in today's fast-paced competitive world. There is no book of guidelines, so each one following their own heart and intention and ambitions and flowing with the uncertainty that it all is. Art can be so personal for someone. It may not necessarily be a community building exercise for all. Maybe some artists are comfortable or more empowered alone in their space in silence. Despite that, if they tried with TV shows, community jams, teaching the little they know, well, great, but it's never enough to be applauded by a country you give up the entire world for. Memories will take us back to when we left everything for silly ambitions like Dance India Dance as the only goal in mind, not realizing post-rejection that everything would pan out and not one moment planned, but as if the universe was unfolding one event after the other for you to experience and learn from. The ones that weren't there in your shoes the entire journey will make their understanding from the 1 or 2 times you've met them and the little that they see of what you share on social media perhaps, which isn't always the entire story. I mean, it's just so much more and how we limit it ourselves. To be completely honest, I myself am not the example for community activities per se, neither do I relate much with being a flow artist or dancer or any label for that matter, as much as I've tried to fit into each box over time in my journey. Not being a people person, if anything, I ran from community jams. It's not like when we were kids, you see, all the socializing and small talk and networking gets draining for the child that played Unch Neech Ka Papda with bazillion kids yet didn't bother with names and formalities and credits and whatnots. I have openly even shared why I don't relate to selling things anymore, as I myself am making do with what I already have, and personally don't even feel for teaching large scale or selling hoops, even if that's what making something a profession revolved around. If everything I learned was for free by myself through what's already available on YouTube, Instagram, etc., how could I imagine I'm somebody to earn a living from it, and who am I to give certificates to you who can be self-reliant yourself? What if we've forgotten all the terminology or cannot label all that we express with the art form and break them into professional courses? And yet we tried and gave that format all we could and trained plenty of humans and created what we never imagined we ever could. It manifested yet may never be enough to be featured on, say, the Better India. It's been quite a while of figuring things out and coming to terms with a whole bunch of underlying issues and feelings that may actually come in the way of any passion, initiative, hard work, or intention. Like even honestly asking myself what it even means to be the first, the best, the most, the only, the pioneers, first generation, winners, successful, this, that. And all these words and expressions that are used to describe any person or group of people in shows, magazines, newspapers, articles, and whatnot, only possibly causing more of a feeling of divide or another feeling less capable or unimportant or slow or late. The ones who make it to history are the ones with a larger voice and support. Everybody, including myself, may have unknowingly been caught up to some extent in that. I can vouch for what I'm trying to address for me in brutal honesty, even if it means going back and looking at the entire journey in my current state of self-awareness. I've been vaguely aware of flow initiatives, even if I may have been aside working on my own personal journey since the beginning, pushing myself to collaborate or coexist with much hesitation. It's difficult for introverts that are fueled by ambitions, trust me. And what is friendship even these days, when everyone's trying to make a name, be the first, the best, the most? I ask myself more than I recite to you. I may have not been the best support for anyone, but quite a task it is to support anything, including even self these days, as one can never be sure what anyone's intention is or what to even make of all that we can do in this capitalistic model of society. Even our own dreams and goals change with time. If anything, I'm quite glad to be on a solo journey, not knowing as much as one is expected to know being a hula hoop artist in India. Being nudged by guides who altered the direction and purpose in a way subconsciously, whether it's in the archives or not. There's always going to be people doing what you did 10 years ago now. You possibly did what other people had done years ago then. Somebody at some corner of the world has already done what you're doing or plan to do. If you create billion videos using a prop and the same people that don't support it would all spam your inbox with a viral or trending video, not knowing the heart of an artist and what it even takes to sail through, doing the best they can without asking for help or support. Do you know how much props cost? Do you know the ordeal it is to work on a respectable fee for your input in your country? No. Were you learning a move and had silly goals like, I want to be the first one to do so, and all of a sudden turns out someone else already does it and you're unaware of the terms and conditions, having been in the performance industry for years on end? You unknowingly get attached to moves, creations, etc., continue to perform everywhere, unaware they may come back at you with vengeance as if you should have never dared to ever. Oh, the nastiness that art and sport can be, it's eye-opening. I always felt that when interviewed or typing out a story, when they ask us time and again what or who inspired us, I always found it super unfair to have to answer this. Hated interviews, felt so unnatural. So many things, people, events, feelings, opportunities, synchronicities, and so much more inspire us collectively that how could we pinpoint just one or two or a handful? Yet we do. We name all the international artists since international is what we respect in India, right? And the one or two Indians we can count on our fingers that dared to locally. Yet we celebrate being one of the few, because isn't that the standard the world sets for us? The first to climb Mount Everest, the first man on the moon, the first Indian lady vice president, first Indian tennis player to win so and so. How subconsciously we end up wanting to chase such titles, and then insecurities come into play when we're mentioning all the artists in our own country or our own community per se. Was this required before my solo act on that TV show? Maybe not. Wasn't this about my performance and ability to entertain the audience that's watching on TV with skills I developed with my dedication? But some environments bring out the competitive side of us, even if it isn't ever to make anyone feel like they're any less. Unknowingly, by having excelled in something, you've ended up hurting another. And now you have to carry this forward with grace. We're shown examples of countries at war, political candidates making a better speech than the other, companies fighting to be the best, employees beating the other's targets, dancers literally trample each other, over to be visible in a shoot or on stage, backbiting each other to take the solo limelight, then what does all this teach us? To be brutal and work, move. We're not stopping to wait and make friends. We're gonna shine with all we have as a way to get back at all the people who never believed in us, and even worse, made us bleed tears by not letting us grow when we had it all and gave it all. We get back with our art, and that becomes a threat to anyone else in the game. We're caught up in both sides of it. With time, someone who's achieved something gets featured, then getting left behind, and then at times the ones with not as much capability getting ahead through any means. Just like a world full of countries, religions, leaders, parents, teachers, hooligans, and everyone fighting, your art has suddenly become a fight. You need to see it perhaps to believe that there's that side to it too. No matter what you do in your life that nobody shares in reality because you're an introvert making efforts here with little support in reality or on social media, but watch how time and again everyone will send you or tag you in something viral. They once sent LED hoop videos as references. Those props are so expensive. The very same people who sent me references didn't know how I saved up from shows to get even 6 over the decade, working on upgrading skills myself, and hardly the same people saw my LED hoop videos which I shared for free. You don't even have to trouble yourself to travel and come watch, but that'd be, oh, you should try this, and this reminds me of you messages pouring into my DM. They did the same when Sari Flow went viral. None of these people had seen my multi-hooping videos in a sari from years ago. Neither shared it nor supported. At the end of the day, anything we do, whether even walk or sit, there's always another person also doing it, irrespective of the size of audience. Not everyone can grow followers overnight. And to see how blue ticks can make another feel like their years of work they put in was of no use. Oh goodness, I can't even imagine what this is going to do to the kids of the future generations. Thankfully, I'm a part of a generation that lived without smartphones and social media, where we just danced for the love and joy of it and shared our vibes with the limited audience who was ever supportive. Oh, the beautiful audiences around the world, beautiful fellow artists, students, embassy friends that helped encourage, and how many years it takes to work on a zero self-esteem to be able to share what one gets good at with the world. Takes just a decade in the country you call home to bring that back to square one. But thank you for the viral updates. I appreciate that at least someone gets to change the world in numbers with what they bring to the plate. There is no way to prepare for any reality than to deal with it as it unfolds step by step. Try define what's right and wrong in the world where everything you seek at is at your fingertips for free on public domain to learn and build yourself with, and yet get hunted down with the who did what first and who gets credited for what dialogue. You'll find yourself at the receiving end of that kind of ambition that once pushed you into achieving everything that you hardly ever dreamt of, all by your own strength and will, listening to your gut, making wrong decisions, excelling at some things and faltering at others. When you choose an art for yourself, or rather when it chooses you, and then make it something that caters to a huge crowd and then retract, it's but obvious it's going to come with its own challenges. Each to their own journey and progress defined so personally. The audience will never know the feeling of the full picture. You unknowingly end up causing people pain just by being yourself, by being hardworking, by being ambitious, by being good at what you practiced, by growing too quickly, by putting yourself out there maybe before time. What is before time even? Isn't it all happening in good time just as it should? Can you be responsible for everyone who felt bad because you did well? Or it's a guilt, so you back off and don't work to the best of your capabilities to make up for having taken the limelight longer than needed? What's lost in process is a lot more than can be summarized in words. As someone aspires to make a hobby a profession, another aspires to exactly the opposite, while not having a clue what they do if not for hooping. Money could mean the world or nothing at all in the context of building an empire. What if you yourself realize all you are building as a foundation needs to be restructured? Are you ambitious? Are you just following the herd? Are you chasing fame? Or just a little piece all by yourself maybe? and clinging on to very little that makes you smile through the whole process. That for the crowd would really mean, hey, you must take a break for your mental peace. Really? Where were the same people the past so many years when the support was possibly needed? What a generalization, no, and now quite the trend. Do you see now clearly why you got thrown out of shows? Do you feel your talent and hard work wasn't rewarded by those around you? Do you see how nepotism works and talent barely then matters? You've seen it closely and worked on regardless. It was far beyond followers, blue ticks, hoop sales, influencer, brand endorsements, and politics, for me at least. As much as I may have been caught up in rushing to TV show after TV show to carve a space and waste hard-earned money on sponsoring posts to reach out to more people with the art that is my life. So much for someone who was so shy to speak to even 1% about my own talent or gift. Now I had to sponsor a post or two that would come across as boasting on another's feed or two. Cringing hard as I recall my old days of foolishness. All this aside, hooping for me became everything. It was the only possible dialogue I could have using the circles that would hardly have the platform or support as anyone else. Feels almost predestined. Did I imagine anybody would really understand it? Reality TV, fellow hoopers, Bollywood, the film stars with reach that suddenly picked up a hoop and now mock me, or the audience that floods toward the trending hashtag? I now know the difference between art and the social circus that could be made of something. Rapes, political agendas, fights will unfortunately continue to happen in this mad, misleading world, and hashtags will trend for the women that apparently empower and then spew hate at a leader. But the art that once breathed through my soul doesn't want to be tainted by the reality of all of this. Get it or not. Irrespective of what I'm capable of pulling off or not anymore, or this world changing or not even the slightest bit, not sorry I once dared to create with my heart confidently at places that possibly were never meant for me. I possibly just couldn't see it at that time. Divine protection, I've been asked to believe it is. Could be, who knows. Would be scary to tell the masses you promote so and so something and be tied down to a contract that wouldn't allow you to share your truth instead. Do you secretly wish to go back in time to 2002 when it was just about the joy of hooping and dancing alone in your room instead of making a full-fledged career of it in a country that has its own political motivations and partialities? Wasn't foreigner enough, was it? Was on the wrong side of a political debate, was it? Articles can literally be brought down. I wasn't aware that could happen. Times change. Everything is temporary after all. Your hoop, your prop, your tool, your own flow of life, your weapon of expression, that they will all surely misinterpret and hardly have the patience to hear it all out. You possibly dressed up your speeches to sound like you knew it all and had the hang of where you were taking your purpose at one point. It's okay to look at it all in retrospect and be like, what? Not sure if any of this makes sense, but I feel this is definitely a push for me to share bits and pieces from my journey that has been lying around in drafts with any artist of any genre on any part of this planet. Wasn't aware of this side of you hooping when I was drowning in an agenda of things to do and goals to aspire to, working breathlessly towards making hooping a thing and taking every single thing up, not knowing that wasn't all for me. Then to keep learning, health is everything. On and off, one thing after another gets tiring as much as you move on with your passion and ambition. You might want to do so much, but if your health won't support it, you can pack up your dreams and first recover from the result of overworking to fit into industries and platforms that don't prioritize health. It's you and your slow life watching everyone else conquer the world with goals and ambitions. It's you and your billion hoops that now gather dust because there's only so many performances, workshops and competitions and whatnot one can take up by also wanting to do everything by oneself. Nature has its own pace. What isn't meant for you will never fall into place, no matter how much you work or wish for it. Not everything is meant for everyone. Be happy and grateful for what you got to do and what you have. Just as the entire world is addressing issues that may have been on a sleep mode thus far, it's been a road of revisiting for years now. A hint at a time from the universe to let go. To go back to knowing nothing is tricky when your life depends on sharing and monetizing the little you know, with no guide as such that too. I see how this world has people who barely know a thing with more confidence than those who know but shudder to share, and if at all they do, they get mocked and hunted down. What if you're more comfortable alone by yourself but dared to work outside your comfort zone for as long as you could because your passion drove you to do all that you hardly imagined you had the courage for? Not sure if this is relevant in the global pandemic scenario at all, but I'm sure if we look within, all the answers are there. It's the noise outside that distracts. The people that never wished you grew and flew that pull you down to that distract. Allow that to show you the way, because possibly this world needs more people who have healed from what they were put through and have the courage to rise and work towards sharing love and happiness with no other agenda. Algorithm and validation aside, of course. Bring on life. I wish peace and perspective to anyone who managed to survive this never-ending verbal diarrhea, which I'm sure to forget the moment it's conveyed to make space for more ramblings. On I go into the uncertainty that unfolds with one half that has lost hope seeing the humans fighting over anything uttered, and the other that is as headstrong as it was when it decided to carve a path by itself come what may, knowing absolutely nothing of where to begin from and where anything would go. You may be caught up with what belongs to who and who imitated what till you realize time and again it is only the ego that functions that way. The day you at least start the process of learning that nobody, no move, no community, nothing belongs to anyone at the end of the day, and that we're all just temporary beings caught up in calling something theirs, in the process of which everyone gets distanced from each other in this world that applauds only materialistic gains, and what shines under stage lights and with famous people's validation is the day you see it all in different perspective. As I read all of this out to you, it hits me even more how much I, out of all people, need to go back to being a child and let go of whatever I temporarily worked for and allow everyone to take what they can. It's okay if you deserved something and you didn't get it in reality, no matter how hard or how long you worked for it. It's okay if you were applauded for something that somebody else wanted more. It's okay if you allowed all the episodes of being unfairly cut out pour into your dreams of building something for everybody be misinterpreted, because you allowed your hurt to momentarily be conveyed as what came across as negativity. What goes around comes around, and that goes for the artists that didn't want others to grow so that they can get ahead. But was that in response to you having done the same at some point? Your conscience would wander on and off. The environment we work in for decades rubs onto us at some point. We become invincible, and everything aside of your ambitions to be the first Indian or the best Indian to do something blurs everything else out. That goes for shows that ruined the health and sanity of talents that deserve to be celebrated and pampered instead, but that would be wishful thinking. That goes for everyone with a mask hiding their insecurities and fears over this fast-paced social media world, not knowing an iota of what it takes to be in anyone's shoes, but have all the judgments about what one's life can be reduced to, even if it is intended to be at best a motivational post for self and others. Because sooner or later, we're all going to go through a feeling of replacing and being replaced and end up experiencing these feelings, only possibly finding different ways to cope with it and moving on to understand oneself as a part of the big picture. Zoom out and see how small and insignificant we all are. Zoom in and see all that we are and could be, living and breathing through a perpetual paradox. Now, even after I've read you this entire book, which possibly put most of you to sleep, I realized time flew by since I wrote all of this, with its own ups, downs, and mind-boggling revelations, since I jotted this out in a mixed state of fury, sadness, resentment, with feelings of incompetence and whatnot. What I then couldn't have read 2 sentences of without tearing up or without my voice cracking, I now can smile through like a cozy bedtime story. I must say I owe it to the things not working out for me to be able to see things differently. Goes without saying that my thought process has come a long way since, and if I were to rewrite this now with an additional 2 years of introspection, there would definitely be a little less of an undertone of misery, possibly a lot more acceptance than I had then, and definitely a lot more gratitude for every opportunity that did manage to experience. Gratitude for all that we already have. Oh well, better late than never to share. So one is aware that yes, it is normal, it is human, it is natural to feel all this because somewhere we're shaped by what we see since childhood, and to be able to shift anything about the collective, one must begin a shift within oneself. Not always are we prepared for it, but if we don't take the signs, time will sucker punch us down, so we learn before we dare take another step into any direction. This was the punch I needed. If some people had supported you, they wouldn't have cut an entire telecast out after having overworked your soul, correcting every last millisecond, telling you were great off camera. If some brands had not intentionally made you feel small, if that so and so company hadn't deliberately scared you when you approached them for a mere bodysuit, making you run far away from wanting anything from anyone and rather making your own, a million ifs and buts nudging you to go back in time and wonder what it is from your actions and ambitions that landed you here. We choose to grow and see for ourselves how cutthroat this entertainment, talent, dance, sport, and unfortunately even hoop industry or community can be too. The same people that support others will do everything they can to ensure you're cut out. And today, I have more love for them than I ever knew I was capable of. To not want anything anymore and wish growth for everyone is liberating. Love to those that never wanted to see you grow. Love to those that could have supported your performance but chose to throw you out instead. Love to those who pretend to be inspired but really just want their business to shine. And all this is okay because we are as much in this alone as we are in it together. And truly, honestly, nobody owes anyone anything. If you can't support yourself, how can you support others, right? I no longer want to have much to do with the platforms and communities I once worked hard to fit into. It's freedom. India has got talent, but India chooses who to support and whose spirit to break at different points in time. And honestly, I don't want to be part of this. Not at either end of the spectrum, knowingly or unknowingly. In an attempt to work hard to be the best in the game, I took up everything for years. And create a value for yourself, have your passion pay your bills, crime, apparently so. To make up for it, I take nothing up for years. So much peace. Earlier, I took up everything and still felt like it wasn't enough. Haven't taken up anything in years, and I feel like I have everything I need. Even if it's been messy asking for help to coexist in this society for the time being, without this inflated sense of empowerment that wouldn't allow me to take help when needed. A contrast indeed. In the process of opening up all the layers and looking deep within, you'll naturally end up wondering if you deserved any of what came your way, whether magazine and TV shoots, TVC opportunities, anything really, and if it was even right for you to dare and take it all up. Despite all those who stood by and supported, cheered, and possibly even looked up to you, had more faith in you, you'll wonder if you got it all wrong, and you may long to go back to simpler times when none of this was part of hooping, dancing, anything. We speak of passion but barely take off that mask and allow all of this to be addressed, which are equally part of any passion no matter how much we deny it and keep going. I love my India. Despite all it gave and took from me, something always brought me back here, and I'll continue right here on earth come what may. Even if it means I have to make my own little world within it that's closer to my sole purpose. I used to think I'll work hard and earn lots of money to be able to help everyone, but I wanted to earn it from my passion of dancing, hooping, cleaning, and so much more that can't be labeled. Biggest blooper of life. I want to love instead. Lots of love for everyone, but for that, I start with myself. You can't achieve what you thought you could, but you can restart and let go of all that you thought was. I don't want to teach or perform for money, but we need money to survive in this wretched money-obsessed reality. You aren't born with a price tag on your head. You earn it apparently, but for some, no matter what all they do, it may never be enough. Perpetual beggars with fancy yet humble props ready to put up a show no matter where they go. You see yourself now something that's most needed in the world is the most underrated thing in the world. And then what are you supposed to uplift and motivate others about when you have yourself seen how it all works? Can a human not be able to give for free, to live and eat for free? We're not taking the money with us when we die, but in the process of earning our own to be empowered here, much is lost. Everyone cannot renounce the world for peace, love, harmony, and happiness, and to be able to give for free. It's mind-boggling how much needs to change. But just like India's Got Talent, if we don't go, we don't see for ourselves, right? It works, great. It doesn't, also great. Don't have to feel bad and cry for years like you did last time. It's okay to be lost in transition and try knowing the very possibility of failure time and again in manifesting everything 100%. And while wishing for things, you may simultaneously not be ready to throw yourself out there either, because the last time you did that, you learned why not to do so. But before, I'd keep to myself in silence and allow actions to speak louder than words. But now I'll change that and share everything with you as is, raw, unprocessed. By sharing all this, I hope you too find the strength, courage, hope, balance, love, direction, and lessons and everything possible to look into the mirror, look within, and address everything there is to you in respect to your art and help unfold the way ahead. It's always a long way to go, but what journey happens overnight, no? On you go, and as you do, forgive me if I've been mistaken, insensitive, or unknowingly caused harm to anyone or anything, and definitely do forgive me if this verbal diarrhea has been repetitive or lacking in structure, because really just read it as I typed it in one go right from my heart. It's bound to be imperfect. The amount of work and opportunities changes over time when your thought process changes from wanting to be the first and the only one doing something to one of the many doing something. A constant journey of inferiority and superiority complex, taking turns to maneuver the course of any artist's journey. That is also natural, and yet hardly anyone talks about it. Who made it because they had contacts, who had nothing and made everything from scratch, whose smallest efforts gets highlighted, whose hard work gets trampled over. It all makes you go deeper within your heart and see things as they really are. If you do A, they say you don't do B. A and B could be any range of things, and then vice versa. You're too Bollywood, you're too bland, you're too commercial, you don't know how to make money out of art. Art shouldn't have a price. Oh, if you're good at something, you shouldn't do it for free. It's endless. And to figure it all out, there are no concept of ashrams, or one could go only give their art form in return for just some food and shelter. Really, how much can an artist want more than that? We're made to believe by the famous cricketers, actors, musicians, influencers, and so many more that we need so much more, and that just plain love and art don't suffice. A part of your life goes into proving to your own people that you're a lot more than a bar dancer, and the next half you really don't care to prove anything anymore because you see how it all works. Left to the current me as of today, I'd actually just go and delete this whole thing. Oftentimes, the real cause of anger, sadness, doubt, etc. could be unfulfilled desires and loss of faith in the system from having seen how brutal it can be. And when you have to find your way to then lead the way, of course, you get mistaken that you have to do it all by yourself without wanting to take help, even pushing those away who are all up for helping and uplifting. But you have dreams and you're going to go get them yourself, not knowing you'd be sitting with yourself one day and wondering what even was the purpose of it all. What have you proven? What have you won? So now we're going to sit down and not allow ambitions and emotions to cause havoc to ourselves or those around, and rather just accept that some things were for us, some not. Everyone must live their dream, and the least you can do is wish them all well, sincerely from the heart, instead of seeing this whole world as one racetrack. Nobody has to be the first or the last, the best or the worst, the most famous or the easiest forgotten, the richest or the poorest. Whatever is. We don't need any more than we already have. It's peaceful to not want that bodysuit for your performance on IGT. It's peaceful to not want that company to send you shoes and sponsor and support you. It's peaceful to not have to count on the famous to share your work. It's peaceful to not work on perfecting an act for wins and golden buzzers. It's peaceful to not have to force yourself to jams when you're your own best jam all by yourself. It's peaceful to be able to take time, breathe, and not have anything to do with anything, but just being. No expectations, no goals, no obligations. Just a journey of letting go and silencing. It's okay to place the torch down that nobody asked you to pick up in the first place.